What's going on, everybody? It's Team EZ here. Today we're going to be talking about the last 4 updates to Minecraft. In case you haven't played in a while and you're going to be coming back to 1.18, glad to have you back. We're going to start in 1.14, which actually came out in April 2019. So if the last time you played was before then, sorry, I'm not covering those. There's just so much to cover in the last 4 updates. Alright, and all of these are pretty huge, and they're all an overview, so if you want really specific information on any of these features, go check out the wiki. It is very detailed, and the music in the background is from 1.18, by the way, so enjoy. Alright, so first thing, going down alphabetically, is bamboo. Bamboo got added to the game. It spawns in jungle, in certain specialized jungle biomes. You can break it with a sword if you're in survival. Like that. Right, pretty simple. Falls down like that, and it can be used in a few crafting recipes. For example, it can be made into sticks, and later on you'll see scaffolding. But pretty cool stuff. You just plant it like that. You use bone meal, it can grow it up. Don't have any on me right now, but get the idea. Alright, moving on. Here is a barrel. It's just a way to store items. They're really useful for shops or just decoration in general. I like the look of them. They can be made into pretty cool looking walls. The directional stacking like a piston and not like a log, so keep that in mind. Pretty easy to craft them, pretty cheap. Cheaper than a chest, so keep that in mind, I guess. That is a pillager. These were added, but I'm just going to show you the bell. You can find these in villages. You can't craft them. When you right click them, they make a noise and make any pillagers nearby glow, so you can see them through walls. Glowing lets you see through walls. See? You see through walls. And it also gathers all villagers in the area to the bell location, so that's kind of cool. An easy way to get villagers to move. Alright, now these special furnaces were added. Pretty easy to craft. It's just furnace. This one is 5 iron and 3 smooth stone. Makes a blast furnace. You can cook any ores or metal tools and armor, and you can cook them in there. It's about double speed, so you know, go ahead and use those. And then you have a smoker here. This is called a blast furnace, by the way. You have a smoker here. It's just 4 logs, and this can be used to cook foods, everything except for coarse fruit. It cooks them double fast, so a good way to save fuel and time. This is a campfire. It's crafted like this. You can use any logs and coal or charcoal if you'd like. They damage you if you stand on top of them in survival mode, and you can also cook food on them like this, and when the food's done, it'll actually pop off, so it won't stay on, but it'll pop off, and it's free cooking. You don't have to spend fuel, so that's interesting. And you can also put them out with a shovel or a water bucket. So yeah, and they make kind of cool decorations when they're like this. If you put a bunch of them up like this, and I think you can kind of tell what I'm talking about. Makes kind of cool looking top or bottom texture. But anyways, see the food pops off like that. Pretty cool. Now they're also useful for signaling things or mark a location of your buildings. And you can see the smoke goes up a little bit, and when you put a hay bale underneath, it goes up really far, and you can see it from pretty far away. It's kind of like a classic nerd pole, but it's, I don't know, 60 or 128 blocks, I'm not really sure, but it's pretty far, pretty significant. Alright, so there's a couple new technical blocks, something interesting. This is the Cartography Table. You can use it to edit maps and do some interesting things with it. It's crafted very easily, 4 planks, 2 paper, Cartography Table. Now, for example, say you made a map like this one, right? And you want to copy it, you can do that. Put the empty map in there, it'll copy them. And let's say you wanted to make the map bigger, you can do that too. Put a paper in there, that. Say you wanted the map to lock and no longer be able to update, you can put a glass pane in there. And now the map will no longer update, and this one's kind of glitched out, but you get the idea. Anyway, so now we have the composter. It's pretty easy to make, a couple slabs. And you can put a hopper into it, and it will automatically work. You can put any type of food or netherwort block or flowers or oak leaves or whatever, and it will stack this up, and then finally when it hits the top, it will turn into bone meal, so you can have automated bone meal. Pretty cool. If you use hoppers, again, on the bottom of the top, you can use it to insert stuff and pull out bone meal, so you can do some interesting farms with some whatever ideas you have, maybe bamboo or sugarcane, who knows. Now we have the archer table, the fletching table, sorry. You craft it like this, and it's used for nothing for the player, but it's used for villagers, which we'll get to down the line. Alright. They added 2 new flowers, or 3 new flowers. This cornflower, this lily of the valley, and a wither rose. The wither rose you actually take damage in. It's like gives you the wither effect. So yeah, that's good. You can use that to kill mobs, or in certain mob farms, like a wither skeleton farm, it can be used to make sure that only wither skeletons can spawn. Look up more information on that if you're interested. You get them from a wither, like the actual wither boss. If it kills a mob, every mob will drop one of these. So they're possible to farm them, and they're kind of cool. Now this is a god tier item. This is why it's in gold over all around it. This is the Grindstone. This is super, super powerful. Alright, this completely changes the entire enchanting game. Craft a stone slab, 2 sticks, 2 oak planks. It's super cheap. You should have tons of these all around, you know, your enchanting areas. And what is really powerful about them is, say you got a bad enchantment that you don't want, like say this was, you know, you want a protection 4 and you got protection 1 somehow, or protection 2, you know. You can just throw it in here. Unenchants it. Yep, actually just insane. The other thing it lets you do is not going to be that useful, but when you damage your tools and they get pretty low durability, if you want to keep the name, you can keep the name by putting 2 and repairing them in here. It's kind of weird. So, I don't know, that's just something interesting. But the really powerful thing is you can disenchant items, and it gives you XP for disenchanting. It's not a lot of XP, but the fact that you can completely clear a bad diamond enchantment means that you'll pretty much, you'll waste so fewer diamonds doing enchantments, so that's really cool. Lanterns, these are really cool. Notch said one day he'd add these, and well, he's gone now, but out of the game, and somebody added them, so here you go. It's a torch, 9 iron nuggets. You just craft nuggets with an iron ingot just in your inventory. And it makes a lantern. It's only 1 light level brighter than a torch, but they look really cool, and they can hang on a ceiling, but they can't, they can't go on the side of a block. They can go at the bottom, or the top, or the bottom, you know, but they can't go on the side. Alright, cool. Now, lecterns, these are cool. Another thing Notch said he would add, never did. These are crafted pretty easily, and it allows multiple players to read the same book at the same time, which is really cool. And if you use a comparator, you can tell which page the player is on, and it'll give you signal strength, and you can do it to the wall, so you can have like a secret entrance or something like that. It's kind of cool. Alright, now this is the Loom Block. This is a really cool block. These are a bunch of banner designs, these special ones. So basically you can take your banner, you take your die, and you can choose, you know, to do a certain design or whatever. Like, okay, I like that one. So that's how you do banners now. You make the craft the loom. It's pretty easy. 2 planks, 2 string. It has really cool textures on the sides, so use those as you will. And there's a couple cool patterns and things you can find or you can craft. And if you use dyes, see there's the Mojang, so you hate Mojang, you put that one. And these are the special ones that you can craft. This one actually you can only get from villagers, and this one you can only get from bastions, which I haven't introduced yet, but just noting that now. Here's how you craft them. The thing, that's the thing, the Mojang logo. Wither skeleton skull is the crossbones, pirate flags. Creeper, obviously, and an oxide daisy for the flower charge. You just craft it in your inventory, a piece of paper and one of these items, and it gives you the banner pattern. They obviously don't get used up when you use them, so they're permanent kind of things. And yeah, these ones this one you can get from villager trade. You trade a cartographer, and then this one, or a librarian or something, and you trade. You get this one from a bastion, which we'll go over later. Okay. Okay, so they added new noteblock sounds, which is really cool. Love that. Yeah, so those are cool. Those are new sounds, so go ahead and use those if you like doing notebblocks. Alright, this is scaffolding, gotten from the bamboos. It's 6 bamboo and a piece of string, gives you 6. You get tons of them. Trust me, you'll have so many. You can climb up them, and then, you can climb up, and if you hold shift, you can climb down. Pretty cool. You can stack them like this, so that's kind of interesting. And then when you get to the top, or you get to a certain layer, if you right click the top texture, it'll place one outwards. See how it's placing them outwards in front of me? But they can only go a couple blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then they'll start dropping down. And at that point, you can stack them up like that. Pretty cool. And then when you break the bottom, guess what happens? Pretty fun. They're pretty fun. Very good scaffolding, and they're obviously called scaffolding. So cool. Now you can color text on signs. Kind of cool. If you want to draw attention to something, you can do that. It's especially important on dark oak, because if you type something, it's really hard to read, but if you take some white dye, you can make it a little bit brighter, and you can actually read. They added a bunch of different kind of stairs and stuff. I know, oops. They added a bunch of different new types of stairs. They added, obviously we have stone slabs now. These exist now. Stone stairs, this is a game changer for making caves, which is really cool. The andesite block and the polished andesite, diorite, the granite, the polished granite, they all have stairs now. Now the mossy blocks do, now the sandstones do, but not the cut ones. They only have slabs. These are the cut sandstone, different from the smooth. The smooth sandstones have their own textures. This is called smooth quartz. This just got added to this update. Very cool compared to, this is the original quartz block. But now if you smelt this block in a furnace, you can get smooth. See how it's a nice smooth texture? Pretty cool. You can make stairs, and now there's red nether brick stairs and slabs, and endstone bricks and endstone brick slabs. So stairs and slabs. Pretty cool. Added those in. Now, this is the smithing table. This didn't have a use in 1.14, but it does now, and in 1.16 it got a use, but this is how you craft it, and we'll go over its use in that 1.16 section. That's how you craft it. All right, this is a stone cutter. This is another god tier item. You better have them in your ender chest because they are a resource saver. So basically what you can do is you craft it with any type of stone, granite, diorite, stone, blackstone, different types of stone, and an iron ingot, and you make some stone cutters. And what you can do is pretty incredible. Any type of stone in the game, so all those types of stone right there, all those over there, bricks, whatever, you can just place into there, and you can make them 1-for-1 into any of the blocks. So you can turn stone directly into stone brick stairs 1-for-1. You waste no stone. It saves so much. Like that, see? Super duper useful. Absolutely game changing. This is a new block, a sweetberry bush. They're just like basic food source. Pretty bad to be honest, but as an early game kind of starting thing, they're half a little piece of food. So do like that, and you can spread them like crazy. They grow really really fast, and they actually keep mobs out of them. If you're in survival, hopefully I don't kill myself here. You can walk into them, take damage. Mobs will stay away. Good way to keep hostile mobs away from you and get food at the same time, so that's cool. Now this are the walls that they added. They added a bunch of different walls. It's not just stone bricks anymore or cobblestone. So we have bricks, all these different types, prismarine even. Super cool. Similar to the stairs and slabs over there. Now this new weapon, Crossbow. This is how you craft it. Tripwire, 2-string, 2 sticks, or 3 sticks, and a piece of iron. Makes you crossbow. Crossbows are really cool. They have 3 unique enchantments. Multi-shot, piercing, and quick charge. Multi-shot and piercing cannot be on the same crossbow, by the way. Just thought I'd mention that now. You can either shoot multiple arrows or have them pierce through targets. And then quick charge just makes you draw back the crossbow faster. Now let me show you that you can fire rockets. You craft rockets. Oops. Well, that's gone forever. You craft rockets. Let me help myself out here. You craft rockets, you can actually shoot them out of the crossbow. Like this. You put them in your offhand, not your trash can. Then you grab your crossbows, or whatever you have, charge it up, and you can shoot the rocket. They do a ton of damage. Can't really show off the damage here, but trust me, they do a ton of damage, and they fly straight, like a missile. But because they have a certain flight duration, they only have a certain distance they can fire, but it's a straight line missile, so that's kind of neat. Yeah, so those are cool. Now, these are kind of interesting. This is the raid mechanic and pillagers. So there's a couple different types of pillagers. Witches are now known as pillagers. Well, like, they're a type of pillager. It's a whole new kind of classification of mob. Like, there's undead, there's not undead, there's arthropods. These are a not undead kind of category, and then the subcategory is pillagers. So they're all kind of on the same team is how you want to think about it, okay? So you have a couple different types of mobs. You have the Witch, obviously we know the Witch. We have the Evoker, okay, the Evoker can summon Vexes. It's like a summoning mob, it's kind of cool. There's a Vindicator, there's a Pillager, and there's a Ravager. And then there's a secret mob that's only gotten from commands, which is the Illusioner, and it doesn't appear in the game at all, other than that. So in the world, what you'll find is you'll find these guys walking around in groups, and one guy will have this banner on him, and when you kill him, you'll get this effect, the Bad Omen effect. You can get up to 5, level 5 Bad Omen, and it will last until you die. You can't drink milk, I don't believe. Oh no, you can. You can drink milk. You can drink milk to remove it, but what it does, basically, if you have Bad Omen, and then you go and visit a village, a raid will begin. And you can look up videos on what those do. But basically what they do, they have a couple rounds, and they'll spawn in all of these types of mobs, except for the Illusioner, that doesn't exist. Spawn all these types of mobs, and they'll try to kill all the villagers in your village. But if you clear all the rounds, you will get rewarded with another effect called Hero of the Village, which gives you cheaper trades on your villagers. And also the villagers will give you free items. They'll just throw them on the ground to you. Pretty cool. So look up that kind of stuff if you're more interested. But I'm going to go over the general overview, so here we go. This is the plain Pillager. It carries around a crossbow, and it will shoot arrows at you pretty quickly, and they do a lot of damage, so be careful. They're like skeletons, and they don't burn up in the daylight, so yeah, be warned. They have a certain amount of durability, though, so they can actually break their crossbow, and then they become basically peaceful mobs. So you can kind of use them for that, so that's interesting. These are called Vindicators. They have iron axes, and they'll run after you and hit you melee damage. They're pretty strong because they have iron axes, so be careful. These are the Evokers. These are basically the boss, if you could think of a boss in the waves. These guys can summon big, snapping things. It's hard to describe what it is, but I guess we can come over here to this village and terrorize them for a little bit. Look for some villagers, maybe. Yeah. Oops. You can kind of see what it does. This is a pretty significant mob, so let's see what he does. He can summon little Vexes like this. They can float through walls, and see they can attack mobs. So they're really hard to hit. They have an iron sword each. Sometimes they're enchanted with fire aspect or sharpness. They can kill you really quickly if you're not careful. But they can summon these little mouths that come up out of the ground. It's kind of crazy for Minecraft, but a really cool mob. Just thought I'd touch a little bit more on that before we just skip past them. So when you kill them, they actually drop the Totem of Undying, which if you take fatal damage, you get regen effect. It uses the item up. You get fire resistance, some absorption hearts in resistance. So it's a pretty powerful item for a lot of hardcore players. All the hardcore players have one in their offhand at all times. You have to have it either in your main hand or your offhand for it to actually work. So make sure you do that if you're using it. Now the Witch, she can heal all of the types of Pillagers, all the classifications of Pillagers, so you need to be really careful. She can also speed them up, give them speed potions. So if you're trying to beat a village raid, you need to make sure you take care of the Witches and the Evokers. This is a really freaky looking mob. This is the Ravager. It's kind of like the evil Iron Golem, essentially. Any type of Pillager can actually ride on top of them, and when the Evokers are riding on top of them, it can get pretty scary. They do a lot of damage. They do a little bit more damage than Iron Golem, which is, a lot if you don't have enchanted, like, diamond. So really be careful. Just try to shoot them with arrows. Really the best option is to just try to use your ranged attacks and keep away from taking a lot of damage. But when you defeat them, it's pretty fun. It's a pretty fun experience, honestly, the raids. This is like the biggest part of the update, besides the villagers. You get a lot of Totem of Undying, and it's a really fun experience. So if you're on a multiplayer server, make sure you don't bring the Bad Omen effect to your friends' villages, or you're going to have quite a hard time. But it's something fun to do, and honestly an awesome addition to the game. Alright, so now there's a couple of new types of dyes. As you probably saw earlier, that I was using white dye. No longer is there just bone meal. From certain flowers you can craft in your inventory, you can make dyes out of them. So you can make the white dye, black dye, brown dye, blue dye. You still do it the same way. So if you have lapis lazuli, you just craft it in your inventory and you get blue dye. But this is just something that changed. Okay? There's leather horse armor you can craft now. You can craft it like this. I had no idea it existed. You can also dye it just like leather armor, which I didn't know before doing this video, so that's something new to learn. I don't know what that was. Must have been nothing. Now this is a new type of food you can find in some certain world chests, like, you know, like the overworld chests, like underwater chests or whatever. And this thing, when you eat it, it will give you a randomized potion effect if it comes from an underwater chest. Just any random potion effect in the game, super random. But if you craft it like this, with a bowl, 2 of the mushrooms, like 2 of the special mushrooms, and a flower of your choice, it will give you a certain effect. So this one, corn flour, gives you like 5 seconds of jump boost, and poppies give you swiftness for 5 seconds as well. So it's interesting. There's poison, there's wither, so just be careful. I guess that's nothing again. Ocelot and Cats finally made a separation. You can find cats in villages around, so whenever you have villagers, you'll find cats spawning all around. Ocelots are now, they're still tameable, but they only spawn in jungles and they don't become cats when you tame them, so take note of that. These are, I don't know what it's called, the empty chests. These are foxes. You can find them in taigas, snowy taigas, and snowy plains. Obviously the snowy ones, you find the snowy fox. And you can breed them with these berries, sweet berries. So, you know. You can also tame them, I think. No, I don't think so. Look up a little more information on that. I'm not too familiar with foxes, so I'll be honest with that one. Mushroom, yes, they added a new brown mushroom. If you have a lightning strike on your red mushroom, it turns brown. That's it. That's all it is. It's just kind of a new variant. So if you're doing a mob zoo, make sure you have this one too. Pandas got added. They're in those bamboo biomes. There's a couple different types. If you breed them up, they have like genes, so the genes can actually like swap. And there's recessive and dominant ones, so look up more information if you want to know about that, but they're pretty much useless other than adding to your mob zoo, which they are very cool for. Wandering Trader. These are cool. These spawn just randomly in your world. They'll last for 40 minutes at a time. They'll spawn with 2 llamas, which they were here, but I don't know where they went. And they'll be attached by leads. And at night, they will drink an invisibility potion so that mobs, like hostile mobs, won't kill them. And in the morning, they'll drink milk to undo it. So it's kind of cool. If you ever hear something drinking something, and it's not you, the player, it's going to be a wandering villager, all right? So don't be afraid. They have randomized trades, some weird stuff sometimes, and sometimes some good stuff. So make sure you check them out. This one has just a lot of lame stuff, but, you know, maybe you want ferns or something, or spruce saplings because you're on Survival Island or something, you know? So those guys are cool. They also, this is a pretty big change. They allow you to, when you're shifting, you actually go down half a block. So you can fit underneath 1.5 blocks now. Can be kind of significant for, I don't know, you're trying to do a certain, like, I don't know, parkour thing, or maybe like you're trying to defend a point and you don't want like zombies to walk through, so you can just do that, and you can walk through it, but zombies can't, but the babies I guess can. But so, you know, so I don't know what you'd use it for, but it's just something to note, okay? You can fit underneath this now when you normally couldn't. Now, here's the biggest part, and also the last part. The villagers. The villagers changed drastically. Now when you have villagers, they will spawn with no trades, ever. They won't ever have trades. But if you place any one of these blocks, that's the blast furnace, the smoker, the cartography table, the brewing stand, the composter, the barrel, the fletching table, the cauldron, the stone cutter, the lectern, the grindstone, that will give it, and watch, it'll select it. See how it selects it? And if you take it away, it unselects it. So it will actually have a workstation assigned to it, or it will select one. Depending on the certain time of day, things happen with villagers too, so there's a really detailed on the wiki, like I said. So make sure you look that up if you're more interested. But the villages have a lot of interesting trades. Some are very good, some are very bad. The cartographer is actually how you get to what's called a woodland mansion. That's another cool thing to do. There's a bunch of pillagers at the woodland mansion, and there's some loot there. And you get that you get a special map for that from the cartographer. So just note that, I guess. Clerics, farmer, fisherman. There's a Fletcher, a leather worker, mason, which is a way to get quartz, by the way. There's a librarian, which the books, obviously, super powerful, and the weaponsmiths give you diamond stuff, along with the armor. So, trades are very cool. There's ways to cheese them now. So just look up information on that if you're really interested. That is 1.14. Really big update, obviously, as you can see, but not the biggest update in all of Minecraft, because that is 1.16. And that will be really fun to get to. So now we're going to go to 1.15. This came out about half a year later, so 2020. Or actually maybe at the end of 2019, not really sure. Alright, so this one is not really big. This is definitely one of the smallest updates we've had in a long time. This is really a bug fix update and not a major, a lot of things added. So it's going to be pretty quick. What was the main thing was the bees that were added. Hives will spawn on trees like this out in the wild. And it'll spawn with like 1 to 3 bees in it. And if you want to get the hive, you have to use Silk Touch. So if you want to bring the hive with you, you got to use Silk Touch. And you can harvest from the hives using shears or using glass bottles. Shears will give you honeycombs. Glass bottles will give you honey bottles. Honey bottles can be drinking, and honeycombs can be used for special things. So we'll go over that in a bit. Bees need flowers to pollinate their hive, which gives them the honey. There's 5 levels of honey. This is the maximum level, and they look like less and less honey is inside of them as that's going along. And if you're in survival mode and you want to actually harvest from a bee's nest or a beehive, you have to put a campfire underneath it. Otherwise, the bees will come out and start attacking you, stinging you, and killing themselves in the process, as bees do in real life. So, you know, just be careful, all right? See how I got the honey bottle? Drink that up. Doesn't give you a lot of hunger, but yeah. And you can also use a dispenser with a bottle or shears to automatically harvest if you use redstone, or to just safely harvest without a campfire around. Alright, pretty cool. Yeah, this is how you craft a beehive. This is a bee's nest, and this is a beehive. This is how you craft it. So you actually need to harvest some honeycomb before you can craft one of these. These ones you can craft and place down, but these ones you need Silk Touch for. So for early game, you're going to need a beehive. Now, the bottles can be crafted into honey blocks, which are pretty cool. And what honey blocks allow you to do is you can actually slide down them and slow your fall. Pretty cool. You see that again. I can slow myself down by sliding on them, so it's kind of cool. Yeah, so this is about the honey bottles. You can eat them. They give you 3 full shanks, which is like the half pieces of food, 1.2 saturation, and it instantly cures poison if you're being poisoned. Kind of like milk removes status effects, this removes poison specifically, which is kind of weird, but that's what it does. You can use them along with spider eyes, I guess, if you wanted to have some kind of weird food system. And I think this is about, what is this about? Honey blocks? Yeah, if you fall in honey blocks, you take 1/5 the fall damage, so you can use honey blocks to kind of cushion your fall a little bit. What makes honey blocks really interesting is they can be used just like slime blocks to hold blocks against them, but what they don't do is they don't move slime blocks, and also if you're standing on the honey block, you get moved with it, which is way different from how slime blocks work, which is just, it just moves underneath you. See that? Very large difference there. It can also slow you down when you're walking on it, which doesn't allow you to make certain jumps, but if you jump right at the end, you can actually get it like that, see? So if you're really good at parkour, these can be used in cool parkour courses to make it so that somebody has to jump at the edge of the block, which is interesting. They also work through carpets, so you could have some kind of hidden, I don't know, hidden slow down spots in like a large field. I don't know, for like a race or something. Who knows? Mobs actually avoid walking on them, kind of like how they avoid walking on rails, so they can be used as like a deterrent. Like if you want your mobs to, I guess, not walk out of a certain area, and you want to be able to use like carpets, so you could use this to keep mobs from walking on top of them. So interesting. And then bees will also just randomly, if they're nearby, they'll try to like, they'll go to them and try to like eat them. It's like a little behavior kind of a thing. It looks cute, and I just thought I'd note that. Thought it was important. Now if you use shears, like I said, you get the honeycombs crafted pretty easily into a honeycomb block. These are purely decorational. They're really cool looking, cool color, cool texture. I recommend using those. And I believe there's no special tool to break them, so you just got to break them by hand, kind of like glass. So they're not the slowest, but they're not really quick. Yeah, take a look at the bees. You just want a better look at them. There's little baby ones too, a little bit smaller. And you can breed them with flowers to make little baby ones. But those guys have no AI, so they're not going to breed. Now there's a couple new game rules. before we get to the last things. A couple of game rules. Do Insomnia. So if you do Insomnia false, phantoms will no longer spawn. So if you hate phantoms, they can be gone by a game rule. And there's also do immediate respawn, which if you set it to true, players will no longer have the option to click respawn or click title screen. You'll have to respawn. So that's good for mini games. You can also remove drowning damage, fall damage, and fire damage if for whatever reason you didn't want that. Maybe it's a mini game or something, or you just don't like playing with one of those. So, yeah. Sponges, as you know, that's how they work. They suck up, liquid, but then they turn it wet, and it's annoying because you have to cook them in a furnace usually. But what you can actually do is place them in the Nether, and they will instantly dry out the sponges. So, pretty neat. Saves you some time sometimes. Now, they also changed the way elytras work. No longer do you have to be falling to activate your elytra. You can actually just be jumping up and activate it. It's a little bit harder to show in creative, but see, I can instantly activate it. So if I double hit space, it's instantly activating my elytra. Where before you had to actually be falling like that. So it made elytras way easier to use for most players. So that's awesome. Thanks, Boeing. And also, something really cool is you can finally set your spawn without sleeping. You don't have to sleep anymore. See, respawn point set on my bottom left. It's so nice. All right, let's move into 1.16. Turn off that portal. Super annoying to hear that. 1.16, this came out just a little while ago. I think last year, 2020. It added a new set of armor, which we thought we'd never see. Netherite. It's a little bit hard to get it, but it's slightly better than diamond. It gives you knockback resistance, actually, which is really cool. An extra piece of armor toughness. So if you want to compare this to diamond, you can kind of see the comparison here. So you have the knockback resistance. If you have all 4 pieces, you take no knockback, which is really cool. Armor toughness +1, but the armor is the exact same. So 3 armor, but the armor toughness increases, which means armor toughness is when you take high values of damage, it gets reduced more. So if somebody has a sharpness 5 and they hit you, and you have more armor toughness, you'll take less damage. It's a weird calculation, and there's some handy tools online that use like Google Sheets that can show you how armor toughness works better. So if you are interested in that, look that up. Not too hard to find information on that, but just thought I'd mention that's what it does. It also looks kind of interesting, so, Now this is how you get the netherite. You find it basically in the nether. Only in the nether can you find this ore. It's called ancient debris. And you find it in small clusters, up to 3. Sometimes you can get more if you're on a chunk boundary, but that's just how Minecraft works. I've actually gotten it 9 in one cluster, which is basically the luckiest you can get. So very, very cool. These smelt into netherite scraps. You just put them in a furnace, pretty easy. And these netherite scraps, it smelts 1 to 1, by the way. 1 ancient debris is 1 netherite scrap. You take 4 netherite scraps and 4 gold ingots, and it makes you 1 netherite ingot. But you don't need that many netherite ingots, because what you do is in a smithing table, right here, this is a smithing table, you put your diamond, whatever it is, it can be enchanted or not enchanted, doesn't matter, and 1 ingot gives you the netherite equivalent. So pretty cool. It's as easy as that. It keeps the name, all the enchantments stay the same, and it just upgrades it. So pretty cool stuff. Now there's a new block. These are very expensive, obviously. So if you're trying to flex on people, have a lot of netherite blocks. Netherite is rarer than diamond in the nether, so it's very rare to find it. And it can only spawn. It never spawns on the surface, so you'll never see it in the surface. Only if you mine under blocks. It can also hide underneath lava, so if you have fire resistance, maybe you can go search for it under lava lakes. And it does not burn up in fire or lava, so if you just have some lava and you throw it on top, it won't burn up. Trust me, it doesn't burn up. It's not burning up there. See how it's still there? You need a diamond or a netherite pick to mine it, so it's like the toughness of obsidian. It can't blow up by explosions, and pistons cannot push them. Or sorry, pistons can push them, and it doesn't blow up like obsidian. So it's got some interesting properties to it, and that same goes for netherite blocks, pushed by pistons but not explodable by any explosions. Pretty cool. Yeah, there's a whole new set of tools. They do slightly more damage. They do 1 extra damage, and if you have Smite 5 on a netherite sword, you can one-shot skeletons, zombies, zombie piglins. But honestly, the rest of the tools are not worth crafting. Just the netherite sword. But the netherite hoe gives you an advancement, so maybe you craft that. But really only the netherite sword and the armor are worth crafting. The rest is just for clout, I guess. They have slightly more durability, but the mining speed for all of them is not significantly faster. Not enough to where it would be worth upgrading, to be honest. A couple new types of blocks in the Nether. There's many types of blocks in the Nether. This has added the most blocks ever in a single Minecraft update, so we're going to go over them. This is Basalt. This spawns in Basalt Deltas, which is a new Nether biome. There's new biomes in the Nether. Finally. You don't smelt them in a furnace. I'm sorry. You don't smelt them in a furnace. You craft 4 in your crafting table, like that, and it will give you 4 polished basalt. Yeah, give you 4 polished basalt, and they look like this. Just a different texture. They kind of look like trees, like tree bark, so it's kind of interesting. This has 2 textures, as you can see, a side texture and a top and bottom texture. They are the same. And so does the polished basalt. Top and bottom texture are the same, but the sides are different, kind of like a tree. If you want to generate this stuff, you can do it kind of like a cobblestone generator, kind of. Where if you take lava, you have soul soil, not soul sand. This is a new type of soul item. If you flow lava like this, and it has blue ice, not packed ice, blue ice, like this, you can have a generator. So you can generate this block. Very interesting. Very weird, but very interesting. Now all these blocks here can be used with the stone cutter, so just keep that in mind, I guess. We have the polished Blackstone bricks. We have Blackstone, which spawns just naturally in the Nether. Polished Blackstone, cracked Blackstone, gilded Blackstone, and chiseled Blackstone. These can be crafted into these different blocks with a stone cutter, or you can use the regular crafting recipes. You can look them up if you really want to know. And they're kind of cool. The Blackstone bricks can actually be found in what's called a piglin bastion. Now this is the 2 types of gold ore, gilded Blackstone and nether gold ore. Nether gold ore will just spawn everywhere in the Nether now, so you can get tons of gold. If you use fortune, you can get up to 24 nuggets with fortune 3, which is a lot of gold. Or if you use silk touch, you can actually get the ores in the block form. So if you want them, you can get them. Alright, pretty cool. Those are cool blocks. I love them. They're great. These are chains. Added chains to the game. You can stack them either way, as you can see. They can float or they can hang from the ceiling, doesn't matter. And they look really good with lanterns, by the way. They're the same texture. If you noticed from 1.14, the chain texture is the same, so they obviously hook up very well. And they're crafted like this, pretty cheap, and you get a couple of them, I think. I don't think you get one, I think you get a couple. Not sure how many, but you can check. Nether bricks have new variants. They have a chiseled and they have cracked, so you can get cracked from smelting nether brick in a furnace if you want, or 2 slabs on top of each other makes that chisel. And now we're going to go over 2 of the biomes. These are the Warped Forest and the Crimson Forest. So we'll go ahead and copy these commands and actually note where we are in the world. Let's make sure we have this down before we do this and get lost. The Warped Forest. This is the Warped Forest, which spawned actually pretty well. So you'll find in the Nether, if you're just flying around or walking around, you'll find these different biomes that spawn up. This is the Warped Forest. It spawns these like mushroom trees. They're kind of mushroom trees. These are really interesting. You take one of these warped funguses, which can only be planted on this called warped nylium, and you can spread that with bone meal. Kind of cool. So you can click the next block next to it, and it spreads over. If you right-click it, you can get some things to spawn. And these little shrooms, which you can get from bone mealing, actually grow into trees like this. And these are wood. This is wood here. Craft into planks, all different types. I'll show you in a bit. And then they have these special warp blocks, which are kind of like the leaves, but they don't actually decay if you break all the logs. So you will have to break them. Their special tool is a hoe. So if you use a hoe, it breaks them pretty much instantly. And they can also grow with these shroom lights, and they're pretty cool looking. And so you'll see like the forests are pretty well lit up because there's glowstone and there's shroom lights everywhere. This forest in particular has 2 types of mobs that spawn in it. Piglins do not spawn in them, the zombie, nor the piglin ones, nor the zoglins or the hoglins. Only endermen or striders will actually spawn in this biome. Striders we'll go over in a bit, but yeah. Oh, and here's a bastion. Here's an example of a bastion, so if I talk about them later, here you go. They've got a couple different things inside of them. They got piglins, hoglands. They will have loot chests, yep, like this. Could be really good, could be kind of bad. A lot of gold stuff, sometimes diamond, sometimes netherite, so very dangerous places to be, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Anyway, so this is the warped forest. They are pretty cool looking. I love the blue look in the wood. Very, very interesting to see in the nether, and a welcome addition. Absolutely welcome. Now let's go over the second type of forest biome that is now in the nether, which I thought I'd never say, obviously. It's the Crimson Forest. These spawn much more commonly. These are one of the more common biomes now. They have piglins, hoglands, zombie piglins. And again, I'm saying piglin and not pigman because they've changed the mob. Pigmen do not exist anymore. Like pigmen do not exist anymore. It's piglins. So just note that. Again, there's nothing spawning right now, but usually there's tons of mobs in here. It spawns this redwood. It's the same thing. There's these special vines which grow downwards, and you can climb up them just like normal vines, but they're full blocks, so kind of interesting. You will occasionally see warp fungus growing on top of this kind of new grass block, the Nylium. But also crimson funguses grow, and it's the same. They work the same way. You bone meal them, and they grow up. See, like that? So pretty cool. There's also tons of these little like grass, little roots things, and just kind of cool decorations, which can be brought to the overworld. So that's pretty cool. All right, now let's get more specific stuff. These are all of those special crimson blocks from that one crimson tree. There's also the crimson vine, and you can get all these blocks. Very cool, like purple, red, maroon color. So cool. These wood textures are also animated, as you can see. So, you know, take note of that if you're going to do a texture pack. They are animated. Same thing for blue. The blue is very striking, very bold. I love, most of all, the stripped. I know Luke loves them the most. One of the Team DZ members. And then these are twisting vines. They grow upwards, actually. Upwards. And you can climb up holding spacebar. Pretty cool. You can bone meal them as well, and they grow pretty high. Or they can grow, you know, all the way up to world height if you want. I'm just going to cover this a little bit more. See, you can bone meal, and they kind of grow across regular netherrack, so it's kind of cool. There's a new type of obsidian, which was removed from the game a long time ago, but it's back with pretty much its original intention. You can get it from bastions, from Rune Portals that spawn in the world, or from trading piglins, so that's cool. It drips, has a little drip effect. It has all the same properties as obsidian, except it cannot be made into a portal, okay? It cannot be made into a portal. What it's actually used for is this respawn anchor, which is the way, it's a nether bed, essentially. They finally added a way to sleep in the nether. Not sleep, but set your spawn point. So if you have 6 crying obsidian, 3 glowstone, craft a respawn anchor. But in order to use it, you gotta charge it up. So right click with glowstone blocks, it eats them up. And then when you right click, you set your spawn point. It's just used like a bed. Every time you die though, it takes up a quarter. So you have to put in a new glowstone to charge it back up. So pretty cool. This is a new block, lodestone. Also in the overworld they explode, and in the end they explode if you right click them. So don't right click them in the overworld or end. Now this is cool. There's another use for netherite. This is called a lodestone. They sound really cool when you place them down. Yeah, they look really cool. They're a really cool, like, you know, centerpiece block. I use them all the time in my worlds. And the things that's really powerful about them is if you right click the compasses, it'll lock that compass to the lodestone. Super cool. If you're doing like a treasure map or something like that, or you're just not good with coordinates, or you're on Bedrock Edition and you need a way to get to a location, or you just like, hey, friend, here's the way you get to my house from spawn. You just throw them that. It's pretty cool. As soon as you break it though, the compass kind of goes crazy. And it will just point random directions. And so, yeah, take note of that. Cool, so that's cool. Lodestone's awesome item. You can find them in bastions, or you can craft them. This is a new block, Quartz Bricks, crafted with quartz blocks in like a 4 pattern. Just a cool looking block. New. Interesting. New type of soul soil, like I said, they're in a new biome. You can find them, I think you can actually just find anywhere in the nether, but it's a different kind of texture, and you also are not slow when you're running on them. So just kind of keep that in mind. This one you still slow on, the old soul sand. It does not extinguish fire in the rain. So there's a new type of fire as well, blue fire, like you can see. On any type of the soul sand or soul soil, you can right click and you can light a blue fire. It never goes out. Does not extinguish in the rain. It deals 1 heart of damage per second. Regular red fire is half a heart. And piglins will run away from blue fire. So all types of blue fire, they will run away from any of these items here. This is crafted like a campfire, but you use soul sand. So yeah, they work the same way. You cook food on it, no difference. Soul torches are crafted like this. They have slightly less light than a regular torch for some reason. Even though blue fire in real life is much hotter and brighter. And soul lanterns, same thing. They're slightly darker, slightly dimmer than regular lanterns, and they glow blue. So kind of cool. You just craft it with a soul torch instead of a regular torch, obviously. This is a hay bale target block. This is target block crafted for redstone and a bow. And finally, we have a way to light up redstone. And the better you hit it, the more redstone it will light up. See, if I hit it on the edge, that redstone barely lights up. And if I hit it in the middle, it really lights up. So more signal strength, the better shot you have. Really cool. A new music disc. Pig step. Not made by C418. New composer, Lena Rain, who actually made he's making the music for 1.18. One of the girls is making it. I think it's Kumi. I forget her last name. Anyways, there's two girls making the new music for 1.18. C418 is still working with Mojang, but they just switched up the music people for just a new flavor. So it has a new flavor coming to it. Also, all the music that exists in the Nether is also made by Lena Rain, so it's got some interesting tracks to it. We now have a warp fungus on a stick. Works just like carrot on a stick for a pig. Fishing rod and a warp fungus. Craft them together. Warp fungus on a stick can be used to ride them around. Those are striders, by the way. This is a hogland, sorry. They drop leather and pork chops. You can breed them with crimson funguses. They are hostile mobs. They will hurt you, but you can breed them. Super weird. Okay, so a way to survive in the Nether, get food, but they're dangerous. They do a lot of damage. They also have little baby forms, but they don't attack you. You can find them in bastions or the red forest, the crimson forest biome. They are afraid of like the respawn anchor, all warp funguses, and nether portals. They're afraid of those. These are piglins. They're very cool. They have a bartering thing. If you right-click a gold ingot or you throw it to them, they will look at it. They will consider, and then eventually they'll throw you a trade. See if we can get that to happen. It might not because it doesn't have AI on, but they will throw you an item, and it's one of these many items here. You got all this stuff. Kind of obsidian, like I said before, the Blackstone, all these items. It'll also drop you this special enchantment, which you can only get from these guys. And I think bastions also have them, but this is one easy way to get it. And what it does is when you have it equipped, you run extremely fast on any type of soul soil. And it also has these cool particle effects. So that's a way to get even faster in the game. So it throws an item eventually, and these guys are scared of warp funguses, soul campfires, soul lanterns, soul torches, soul fire, like soul fire on top of soul soil. And they actually will attack you if you're not wearing a piece of gold armor. So if you're in the Nether, make sure you have at least one piece of gold armor. A helmet, pants, boots, chestplate, doesn't matter. If you don't have a piece of gold armor, piglins will start attacking you. They're very friendly if you aren't, or if you are wearing gold, but if you're not wearing gold, they will start attacking you. These are striders. When they're not in lava, they're cold and they shiver. So poor little guys. They look really freaky, but you know, it is what it is. You can breed them with warp fungus, I believe. Yeah, you can. And they drop string when you kill them. I don't know why you would, but it's the way you get string, I guess. And as you can see, if you use a warp fungus on a stick, you can ride them around. And they walk on lava. So you can ride them across a large lava lake if you ever need to get across the Nether. So pretty cool. Like a nether horse or nether pig horse kind of thing. This is a Zoglin, a zombified Hogland. You will never find these naturally. The only way you get them is if a Hogland walks through a nether portal into the overworld. They will start shaking and they'll eventually transform. So both piglins and Hoglands cannot exist in the overworld stably. They will turn into the zombified forms. This guy will attack any mob except for like zombies and you know, similar mobs. So, but they will attack creepers, endermen, all types of mobs, spiders. They only drop rotten flesh when you kill them, and yeah, you have to bring them through a portal, like I said. These are zombie piglins, not pigmen. There's no zombie pigmen left. These replace zombie pigmen in every way. They have a new kind of texture, more of a snout look, more of a floppy ear. Yeah, so just keep that in mind. Now the last two biomes that were added, the Sultan Valley. One of my second favorite, I guess. That's my second favorite biome. What? Oh, I'm in the Sultan Valley. Forgot. So this is a Sultan Valley. They're pretty cool. They'll spawn with bone blocks, like fossils, kind of sitting everywhere. There's tons of soul sand. You'll have these like dripping kind of basalt pieces, I guess. Those are kind of just all over the nether too. There'll be like blue fire everywhere. Lots of gas will spawn in them. So if you want to farm gas tiers, it's a good way to get them. Let's go to the end. What else is different about them? Skeletons will also spawn in them naturally, so you'll actually see skeletons in Nether, and Endermen too spawn in larger numbers than normal. Last is Basalt Delta. This is my favorite. Very cool. They've got gas, striders, magma cubes. Yeah, there's a new achievement, obviously. These look really crazy. They're very hard to traverse. Usually they're really huge, but this one's pretty small. And with all the magma cubes jumping around, it can be pretty deadly. If you just are walking in between these little lava pools, you can fall really far. So be really careful. Okay, be really careful when you're walking around these biomes. It's pretty deadly. All right, now last but not least, we got Rune Portals, which we'll cover in a second. Those can spawn anywhere in a Minecraft world, in the Nether and the Overworld. So they'll have little loot chests next to them, and they're basically a way to introduce new players to the idea of Nether portals existing. I haven't looked around too much for them in any of these worlds, but they exist everywhere, so you'll find them. Again, look up more information if you're interested. Now, let's move on to 1.17. This is Caves and Cliff Part 1, which has a lot to do with Part 2, and I'll try to get through it pretty quickly, but obviously this video is very long. First things first, going down the alphabetical list again. Actually, before that, let's go over some texture changes. There's a new type of stone, so if you see this darker texture, that's what it is. The textures changed for all of the ores. All of the ores look completely different. There's texture packs online if you want to change them back to the old ones. Personally, I don't really care anymore. At first I did, but it is what it is, so I don't really care anymore. And there's two types of every single type of ore. Yeah, honestly, it is what it is. It is what it is. That's the best way to put it. Okay, so alphabetically, there's a new structure that generates called a Amethyst Geode. They can be found all over the world, underground, and they spawn like this. They're very pretty. They have some really nice sounds. Yeah, that is real. You are not daydreaming. That is a beautiful sound. When you break them, not lying, I've had the Among Us, again, the Imposter song or whatever, the Among Us song. I've had it play on these. I don't know how they coded the sounds for these, but they sound so wonderful. And so what's special about these is obviously these blocks are really cool looking and they have cool sounds, and when you walk them, they're nice, and that's cool and all. But what's really neat about them is these budding amethysts that will actually spawn, and I'll show you up. You've seen them. I'll show you up in the daylight so you can actually see. There's a couple types of the amethyst blocks. Oops, my bad. This is regular amethyst. Yep, like we saw down there. And then there's budding amethyst. Looks like it's already grown. So what will happen with this budding amethyst? You can't break. If you break these, they will disappear forever. So don't mine them. You can't push them with pistons. They have to stay in the budding in the amethyst geode location for all eternity. But what they do is they grow these little crystals on them in stages. They grow from the smallest to the largest. When they get to this largest size, they look all ripe and nice, good for picking. You can use a pick and it will give you 4 amethyst shards, or you can hit them with your hand or break them with a piston or any other explosions or whatever way you want to do it, and they will give you 2. So you can have 4 or you can have 2. Fortune does not work. Does not work. So don't worry about fortune. Silk Touch does though. So if you want these blocks, like these full blocks, you can use Silk Touch. And as long as they're not on an amethyst, like one of these budding amethyst blocks, they will not grow. So this will stay like that forever if it's not on top of a budding amethyst block. Pistons automatically break them, so you can make auto farms. Pretty cool. And if you put 4 of these crystals in a crafting table like that, it'll make you 1 block of amethyst. There's a couple more things you can craft with amethyst shards, so keep on the lookout for that. But that is the basics of it. And around those geodes, as you might have seen, there's this calcite block and smooth basalt. Calcite is the only place you can find it, but in 1.18 you'll be able to find it on mountains. Very cool looking white block. Doesn't craft anything, can't craft it, so interesting. Smooth basalt, yeah, you just smelt basalt in a furnace and you get smooth basalt. Another cool texture, cool gray block. Now what's here is something you can get from the Wandering Trader in 1.17. In 1.18 it spawns in what are called lush cave biomes, but it's this moss block, kind of interesting looking green block. And if you right click it, it can actually spread. And like you saw a ton of different stone types, dirts, grasses, mycelium, it will actually spread and delete those blocks. And on top of those, on top of the moss blocks, will spawn, actually, the wiki is wrong. These do not work, so, okay, that's interesting. And on top of them, a couple different types of things can spawn. You can have these azalea bushes, or the flowering azalea bushes. You can have moss carpets, or you can have some grass, tall grass, so that's interesting. These little bushes can only be planted on grass or like those associated dirts and stuff, or moss blocks, and you can put them into pots and they look kind of interesting, so pretty cool. It's also a sapling for later on down the line, so they can be used to get wood. So now, there's a new type of ore, as you saw earlier, which I didn't even talk about. The copper ore. There's a new type of ingot. Basically, you mine them, and if you smelt up the stuff, you can get these blocks. There's no armor, there's no tools, okay? It's just these that I'm going to show you. There's no special armor, there's no special tools. So basically now when you mine ores, this is also changed in 1.17, when you mine them with a pickaxe, you will get what's called raw. You'll get raw ore. You will not get the block. You have to use Silk Touch if you want the block. And these raw can actually be smelted into ingots. So you get more from ores now. And if you have fortune, you get even extra. That applies to iron and gold. So you can get more iron and gold than you ever could before. It's like triple. If you have fortune, it's like tripling your output. So all you modded players, including me, you can suck on that, because that is really cool. It's cool to finally see more ways to get more ore in the game. It also spawns in Deep Slate variant, very rarely. You'll get blocks of copper, which you can craft 9 of these raw copper into blocks of copper. They look really cool in my opinion. And they exist for iron and gold too, which look even better. And you can craft these into blocks of copper. This is waxed, and I'll get over that in a second, but you can craft them into blocks of copper, which are pretty interesting. Or you can craft those blocks of copper into these into these cut blocks of copper. You can also craft a lightning rod with 3 copper ingots, and if it's a thundering, lightning within, I think, 64 blocks will automatically strike your lightning rod, so you can protect your buildings from random fires. And if it's thundering, you can throw a trident at it to automatically strike it in case you had some contraption set up to do that. They can also accept a comparator, which will, or it can actually just output a redstone signal every time it's struck by lightning. So if you wanted to count that up, how many times your house has been saved by lightning rod, you could do that. Sure. All right, so now there's a ton of different types of copper blocks, and this is actually the record for the highest. It has the record for the highest amount of characters in a single item in the English version of Minecraft. Waxed oxide cut copper stairs. Very long name. Yeah, just look at that. Look at that. The text bar down there. Minecraft wax oxide copper stairs. Weird, crazy. The copper can oxidize just like copper in real life. There are 4 stages for each type of the block. For the regular, the cut, the stairs, and the slabs. There's only cut slabs and cut stairs. There's no full stairs or full slabs, so just keep that in mind. So basically what happens is if you let a bunch of copper blocks not waxed, so regular copper blocks, these are waxed, if you leave them out, they will oxidize over time. That goes for all of those types. They will oxidize over time very slowly into these different colors and different shades. So that's pretty cool. And if you say you didn't want them to oxidize, you can craft them in a crafting table with a honeycomb, and that will keep them at that state permanently. Or you can right-click them in the world like this. Say for example, you had your copper block, you can just right-click it, and it's waxed. It doesn't look any different, but there's wax on there. And if you right-click with an axe, you can scrape the wax off. But what else you can do is you can actually scrape off the wax. I mean the oxidation. So if you want them to turn back into orange, you can do that as well. And if lightning strikes onto these blocks, it will actually, see, it will turn them back. So I don't know what you'd use that for, but if your roof is randomly becoming not oxidized, you know it looks like it doesn't affect waxed blocks. So yeah, if your blocks are waxed, lightning strike won't affect them. So if you have these waxed, if you have these fully oxidized blocks, you might want to wax them in case lightning strikes. So be careful. Okay, onto the ores. Yes, the ore textures, obviously. There's deep slates, and then there's these really cool raw textures, which again you get from crafting 9 of these pieces. Just as expensive as a block of gold, a block of iron, but they look way cooler, in my opinion. So they can actually be used in buildings. Now, there's a bunch of new types of candles. As you can see, all the colors. There's regular, so there's this new like tan, non-colored, and then there's whites as well, and all the different colors of the rainbow. You can light them with a flint and steel. You can stack them up to 4, just like sea pickles. And they kind of have a different, you can see the color changing on them when you light them up too, so that's kind of interesting. They have an interesting noise. And you can put them on a cake and light them up. But if you eat them, it pops off, I believe. Yeah. But yeah, you can light up a birthday cake finally. So those are pretty cool. They're not really bright, but they're interesting. If you have 4 of them, they're pretty bright, and the brightness scales with how many candles you have. So that's interesting. This is a cave vine. You can get it from a wandering trader. Those wandering trader guys can trade that. Also the moss blocks. That's how you get the moss blocks in 1.17. But in 1.18, you get them in lush caves. And so basically what these things do is, as time goes on, they will automatically grow into glowberries, and they have a light level, as you can see. It's dimmer and brighter as they grow. And you can't actually make them any taller. What you have to do is you have to right-click the berries downwards. It's a bit weird, but that's how they work. You don't use the bone meal to extend them, you use them to grow the berries. Way to get food. They're cool looking. You can walk right through them, and you can also climb them by holding spacebar, just like a ladder. Okay, so now deep slate. This is now spawns all underground, below or around Y0. Turn on my night vision. Around Y0, this deep slate will begin to spawn and replace stone, along with tuft blocks. It's just another block. That's what it looks like. That's it. And the deep slate blocks are very interesting. There's many different forms of them, and they work kind of oppositely to stone and cobblestone. So this is deep slate, and this is cobbled deep slate. As you can see, they have different textures. The deep slate plane has a different top texture than the bottom, or than the side. So the top and the sides are different textures, and they can be placed like a log, as you can see. So that's very, very interesting. Kind of like shale kind of a thing. The cobbled deep slate, honestly, I think looks better. I don't know, it looks better to me. And it can craft it into all of these different types of blocks. You cannot use deep slate to craft these blocks. Okay, the cobbled deep slate can be crafted into these special blocks in a stone cutter, or you can craft them. I'm beginning to ramble on, but it's been like an hour, so see all the blocks, different blocks you can craft them into. But the deep slate can be crafted into literally nothing. So try to not use silk touch on deep slate unless you want deep slate. really cool looking blocks. The tiles especially, very dark black. Just cool. And tough blocks. Can't be crafted in anything. Just another type of stone. Alright, now drip leaves you can get from wandering traders. There's a little one and there's a big one. And if you stand on top of it, it droops down and will make you fall. You can grow them up higher. And again, it droops down, makes you fall. You can plant them in the water or not. And if you bone meal them, it grows into a big one. You don't really get little ones. You can't really get little ones, so you can only get them from wandering traders, really. And if you use a redstone block or put a redstone signal to the top of it, it can actually power it and keep it on, but as soon as it removes it, it starts to make you fall down. And it will eventually pop back up. These are dripstones. You can get them from the world generation. They actually do exist in 1.17 in the world. Or a villager. A wandering trader. And what they can do is they can actually drip water into a cauldron from a water block. So you can turn one water block into 2 or more. So that's interesting. Or they can drip, and actually over time, very, very, very slowly, they will grow dripstone. They will grow them both downwards and upwards. So, interesting. But that only happens when there's water, and it has to be like this. It has to be a dripstone, pointed dripstone, and a dripstone block, and a water block above it. That's the only way you can grow them. They can grow up and down. They have different kind of sizes. They make really good palm tree, like the log. So, just keep that in mind, I guess. Now, what else is interesting is, I don't know where our creeper went, but we had a creeper here. What is interesting is, if they fall, they deal damage, and they deal a decent amount of damage. You can look it up, the exact value, but yeah, that's interesting. And also, if you fall onto it, it deals extra damage, so let's try to summon it. Yeah, you take extra damage from a pointed dripstone, so be careful around them. Also, lava can be farmed down infinitely. If you do it just like the water, just like the pointed dripstones, you can farm lava. It's pretty slow though, so you won't get a lot, but if you do a ton of them, you'll get quite a bit. These are glow squids. These are the dumbest mobs in the game, but they have pretty cool drop, so they just glow, and that's it. They drop this glow ink sac, which can be used to dye signs. You can also craft glow item frames, which are nice for maps. You can see them in the dark, and they don't have like a weird kind of darkness effects on them, which is kind of nice. Yeah, and so what else you can do with them is you can make glow ink sacs, can make signs stand out and glow in the dark, which is pretty cool. So for the black ones, for these black signs, as you can see, they're really easy to read. It makes it. Signs before were just so difficult to read. You had to really focus on them. Look at this. And even from a distance, it's not so bad. So really just a good improvement. But I hate glow squids, so yeah, screw these guys. Because we could have had the Isolager. So it just sucks. The Isolager was such a cool mob. It's from Minecraft Dungeons if you never played that, but yeah, whatever. This is glow lichen. You can get it from wandering traders. You can pick it up with shears. It'll give you the block. Place it down. It glows. Mobs gets bright enough to where mobs can't spawn on them. But they're pretty dim, to be honest. Oh, there we go. Yeah, see, they're really dim. I mean, like no light at all. Yeah, so just thought I'd say that. And what does really give off light is this light block, which I guess we'll kind of get to right now. There's a new creative tool. You just do /give your name light, and you can place these down, and it will start with light level 15. And if you right click it, it will go down to 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, and 7. Increasing in brightness. You can actually control the light level of an area with in creative mode with the creative tool. So if you want to remove light from an area, you can actually get a light level 0, and you can remove light. So pretty interesting. So what else you can do? What else is new is these azalea and the flowering, both of them. You can use bone meal, and it will actually grow a tree. These are azalea trees. They have really cool leaf blocks. They're different color than all the other leaves. Make really good bushes. And underneath the dirt block is actually not a dirt block. It's called rooted dirt. If you right click it, you can get this hanging roots, which are kind of interesting looking. Yeah, that's just kind of interesting. I'm not really sure why hanging roots are in the game, but they are. Now, powdered snow. This is new. You can get it from snowing into a cauldron. That's how you get in 1.17. In 1.18, it will spawn naturally. It's not a block you can mine. You have to pick it up with a bucket. So it's really weird. I mean, you can punch them. Like, you can break it, but you won't get the block. The only way to get the block is you scoop it up. Say for survival mode, scoop it up like that. And you can place it down with the bucket. Very weird, very weird. There's a couple things that are also interesting about it. If you shoot a fire arrow at the powdered snow, or any kind of fire hits it, it will break the block. So that's interesting. It looks just like snow, as you can see. I mean, you can kind of see the texture difference. You can walk right through it. You can also fall right through it. So be careful. And if you're not careful, you will start freezing, and you'll take freezing damage eventually. As you can see, the screen kind of glows blue. And then eventually my heart skips, it will get cold, and I'll start taking freezing damage. As soon as I come out, I'm fine. So that's interesting. You can't jump in them, so it's like quicksand kind of a thing. Put leather boots on, though, you can climb them up. And you can also walk on them if you have leather boots, but if you hold shift, it works just like scaffolding. So that's really interesting. Horse is the same thing. You need leather horse armor, or your horse will die in powdered snow, so be careful, I guess. So one of the things you can make with amethyst is for around one piece of glass will give you one piece of tinted glass. No light can get through. It's really good for mob farms. Cool way to see dark things in the dark. Yeah, that's cool. Also, zombies and skeletons and stuff like that don't burn underneath tinted glass. There's a new mob, Axolotl. There was one here, but I guess it despawned. They spawn in water, and you can pick them up in a bucket, and they're tamed now. If you pick them up in a bucket, they're tamed, and you see the little guy you can carry with you. It will die if it's on land for too long, so don't let it dry out. And it will attack mobs for you, and if it kills a mob, it will heal you, so it's really interesting. And also, if it takes damage, it will become untargetable for hostile mobs, and it will play dead, and it will heal itself over time. So they're actually pretty robust pets, so that's cool. Last thing you can craft with amethyst is spyglass. It's just like a zoom button in Optifine. Not really that useful, but for reading signs, it's actually pretty good if you don't have Optifine zoom. See, I might be able to make the text out of signs. There's just no way you could read that from anywhere else. So I don't know, interesting, right? Goats were added. They got a lot of features to them. They don't drop anything. They're actually kind of pointless, but they sometimes make funny noises. And there's a screaming variant that's really loud and makes like the human screaming noises, which goats are known to make. And there's new game rules. Game rule: freeze damage, player's sleeping percentage. Freeze damage removes freezing damage if you'd like, or player's sleeping percentage. If you set it to 0, only one player on a multiplayer server will need to sleep for the night to go to day. Or you set it to 100 if you want all of them, or 50%, whatever you'd like. So that's it. That's the whole video. If you made it to the end, thanks for watching. If you want any more information on any of this stuff, go to the wiki, and have a good day.